Karen thought she was expanding her lawn when she ripped out my backyard fence, smugly tossing it aside like she owned the land. What she didn't know? That extra grass, she claimed, was actually a protected wildlife habitat, federally documented and monitored by the state. Within hours of her tearing it up, a wildlife inspector arrived, and what started as a neighborly dispute turned into a federal violation carrying tens of thousands in fines. And guess who they're blaming? Not me. It started on a quiet Saturday morning when I woke up to the sound of metal clanging and a gas-powered trimmer revving in my backyard. At first, I thought it was just routine landscaping, until I saw her, Karen, decked out in floral gloves and a smug smile, tearing down the wooden fence that separated our properties. "You don't need this. It's just an eyesore," she said, as if she were doing me a favor. I stood there, jaw clenched, trying to process why my neighbor had taken it upon herself to demolish my fence and claim 5 feet of land that clearly wasn't hers. "I checked the plats," she lied. "This is community property now. I've submitted a request to the HOA for shared maintenance." What she didn't realize, and what she clearly hadn't checked, was that the land directly behind my fence had been registered with the State Conservation Authority for over a decade. It was home to rare butterflies, birds, and even 2 endangered plants. The HOA couldn't legally claim that land, nor could any neighbor just take it. I had the paperwork in my safe, photographs from biologists, and even satellite overlays marking the habitat boundary. But Karen, in typical HOA power trip fashion, had bulldozed first and planned to justify it later. I documented everything. Her pulling fence boards, spraying herbicide on native plants, and even instructing a hired crew to level the ground. "Gotta make room for my outdoor yoga space," she chirped. By noon, a quarter of the native habitat was flattened. That was the moment I made the call to the State Wildlife Enforcement Division. When the officer arrived the next day, clipboard in hand and badge gleaming, Karen marched right up to him with her usual HOA badge and fake authority tone. "Glad you're here. This man is harassing me over lawn space." She didn't even let him speak. But when he introduced himself and showed her the registered environmental map, her eyes darted to me in disbelief. "Wait, this is protected?" "Ma'am," the officer said, "you're standing on a federally designated habitat. By removing the fencing and disturbing the zone, you may have committed a Class B environmental violation." Karen's face drained of color. I thought it was abandoned land." "Then why did you hire a landscaper to flatten it?" I asked quietly, holding up my phone with the video. The officer glanced at her again. "Expect a citation, possibly more." The fallout was fast and brutal. Within 48 hours, my phone buzzed nonstop. Not with HOA threats this time, but from news reporters, conservation groups, and attorneys looking to protect the property. Turns out Karen's destruction made her the poster child for entitled suburban recklessness. Her actions had disrupted a rare butterfly breeding patch, destroyed flagged flora, and removed 2 wildlife cameras set up by a university research team. Karen tried to recover, demanding the HOA help pay her legal bills. "I was working on behalf of the community," she whined at the emergency board meeting. But they quickly distanced themselves, stating she'd acted independently and against protocol. Even her landscaper turned on her, testifying that she told him to get rid of anything green behind the fence and don't worry about permits. Meanwhile, I submitted my damages claim: $25,000 for habitat restoration, $7,000 for the destroyed fence, and $10,000 in legal fees. But I wasn't the only one. The State Department of Ecology slapped her with a $40,000 civil fine for encroachment and ordered mandatory restoration under supervision. She was forced to appear in court where the judge made it clear this was not a misunderstanding. This was willful destruction of protected land. Karen tried to blame me. She never told me it was protected. But I pulled out the signed HOA documents from 2 years ago, ones where I specifically disclosed the protected habitat and attached boundary maps. Her signature was right there. Her expression crumbled. As for the land,
It's now marked with warning signs, surveillance cameras, and a reinforced steel fence, paid for in part by Karen's court-mandated restitution. She's no longer the HOA lawn beautification chair. In fact, rumor has it she's selling her house. Can't say I'm surprised. Not many people want to stay in a neighborhood where they're known as the woman who bulldozed a butterfly sanctuary.